Welcome to PMStudent.com, where you will learn to get started and get ahead in your project management career.
All right, so this is summarizing the project tasks that you led and directed on this project. So really what they're looking for here is a way for you to, you can summarize the deliverables and things like that, but I think that in terms of what they're looking for here, it's probably more along the lines of what you actually did in the project management process. This would be, I guess I would say that this sounds to me like the reason why the project was initiated. And this is kind of the scope of the project. What they're really looking for, I think, is that if in the initiating step, did you, for instance, maybe you wrote a project charter, which would be in the initiating step. So if you looked at the processes in the in the PMP handbook, for instance, or I mean not the handbook, but like the PMBOK guide, and you looked in that initiating process group, the things in there are like creating the project charter, getting all the stakeholders together, forming the project team, those types of things might be part of the initiating group. So that's really what they're looking for. So when you were working on this project, this quality system project, what things did you do that fell into that initiating group? And one thing to keep in mind is that you don't necessarily need to have experience with every process group on every project. You know what I mean? So maybe on one project, maybe you didn't do any of the initiating process on that project, and I guess I'd say that that's okay. In this case, like let's say that you came into a project a little bit after it was started, then you could just say, well, I came in after the project was started, so I didn't partake in any of the initiating steps. So that would be that would be the way I would say it. So if you move to the planning step, it would be things like if you created a work breakdown structure, or even if it wasn't for me when I got started, a lot of my project management experience, I wasn't really aware of formal project management at the time, so I didn't do all of the things that the PMI would say that you need to do. So I didn't necessarily go out and do a work breakdown structure, and I didn't do a formal basis of estimates and those types of things. But I did do things that were like that. So when I ran those projects, I made a list of the things, for instance, that we needed to deliver, or I negotiated with the stakeholders on what the planned scope of the project needed to be, and those types of things. We put a budget together, all that kind of stuff. So those types of, I think what they're really looking for here on this form is what types of activities did you personally do, or did you personally take part in that falls into that process group.
When you are putting your planning and initiating and each one of the phases description, is it okay to use general terms? Like, for instance, understand in the initiating phase, understand the project scope, and in the planning is make up the whole plan for the project. Is it okay to use general terms, or you should use a specific application for this project? For instance, the entire system for the ISO 9000, 2000 version.
Even more specific than that, I would say. So I would say you definitely do not want to be very general with this. You even rather than saying plan the scope of the of this project, in the planning phase, I mean, think back to the type of work that you did on that project and say, you could say, met with stakeholders and formulated a plan, whatever that plan looked like that got put together, basically describe what it was in this specific instance that you did. So, like when I filled out my application, this was a few years ago now, but, with some of the earlier projects that I did, I wasn't really doing a lot of formal project management activities. So in the very beginning, with some of those early projects, I wasn't doing a work breakdown structure or anything like that. So in the planning section, I would have said something like, well, we made a list of the things that needed to get done, and that was, basically our planning. Or we made a list of the things that needed to get done, and then we put them into, a calendar or a rough schedule or something like that. Those types of descriptive, specific things about what you did that involved the planning. And then, in the examples of mine, later on, after I had discovered formal project management and started applying a lot of the formal principles, then I was, in the planning, I was saying, well, in this case, I did a full work breakdown structure with the customer and with the team, and, then we broke that down into tasks using a basis of estimates, and then we put it into a schedule. I resource loaded the schedule, those types of things that are very specific about what you did on this project. So.
Okay, I got it. And to be honest, these many of the people that apply for this exam tries to use the right, the right description, the right wording and planning, because you are investing $400 indeed, right? And if you are not using what they are expecting to see your project, you may be put on hold, or I don't know, being rejected for application of the exam. So it's I guess it is important to put attention in the description that you're using, not use just what you figure out will be the right wording.
I see what you're saying, and it's definitely a valid concern that you have. I think that, if I can't say this for sure because I don't work for the PMI or review these applications myself, but if I were reviewing these applications and I looked at an experience verification form and it looked like it was very scripted, you know what I mean? Like it looked like someone just, pulled a bunch of good words out of the PMBOK guide and copied and pasted them in here or something like that. For me, that would raise a red flag, and I might be more, I actually think that the audits that they do are random in nature. But I know if there is a human element in there, if I saw something that looked very scripted, where it was kind of like, I couldn't even tell what you were doing on the project because there's nothing that's specific enough for me to know, that would raise a red flag with me for sure. So, one thing that you could do, Hector, is you could say on this project, here's what I did. You could even say that this was before I started doing some more formal project management or something like that. But this would be equivalent to a work breakdown structure, or this would be equivalent to a product breakdown structure, or a formal schedule, or whatever. So you could relate whatever you did to what the formal what the PMBOK standard would say that's called, essentially, even if you didn't do it exactly that way. You know what I mean? So if I did a list of things, which in a lot of my beginning projects it was just a list of things that I put together that we needed to do. That's not really a work breakdown structure, but if I were filling out this application today, I would put in, we put together a list of items. Today I would do a work breakdown structure in this case, but for the purposes of this project, that's that was my scope document, was this list. So
I see.
Go to pmstudent.com today and subscribe to one of our free newsletters. Josh will help you get started and get ahead in your project management career.